All right, guys, just let me know if there's any sound issues, and I will go once you guys say you can hear me okay. It's been a pretty good day if you're interested in crash retrievals or alleged crash retrievals, because I think that's the main, most important thing we're seeing here. But let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me, and then I will bring up the language. Yeah, thanks. My haircut was a lot shorter when I got it. Now it's starting to grow in and look normal. But let me know audio-wise if it's okay, and I'll wait, make sure somebody tell me that it's okay. It's like your mic isn't on. That's nice. How about now? Sounds bad quality has a weird delay. Just tell me if it's a little better now. Mic isn't connected. The mic is connected. Damn it. Let's see. No, it's that. All right, great. It's the Collins Elite screwing with my microphone. Let me see if I get the, usually there's an easy way to look and make sure, and it's not here right now. Damn it. Settings, there we go. Audio. It's been a while. There we go.
Now you should be able to hear me. How's that? And then that, so that should be good right there. Tell me if it's too loud. There should be not echo, no echo. Is it good? Let me know. I shouldn't have to, I changed it. It should be fine now. Good. Stupid me. I didn't check the setting. All right. Let me pull up the language, and I'm sure there's some of it I'm not going to understand. I haven't even had to look up some basic words before. Yes, my beautiful voice, Gabby, and ADHD. Yeah, all right, good. Let me get the language for the NDAA. So the National Defense Authorization Act. So there it is. So basically, you guys know that in the hearing in May, Mike Gallagher, who was kind of not on anybody's radar, introduced the Wilson Davis notes memo into the public record. I didn't expect it. Nobody expected it. I know some people were saying maybe it will be, and I was like, no way, it's not going to be in. Just don't even expect that. But it happened. So then later on, I heard from some folks that Gallagher was not going to let it go, and I heard some other things that I can't share. But you can imagine Wilson Davis. He's just not going to pull it out of thin air and introduce it. So he's been speaking to people, learning about it, and so it was entered into the record. And then we had Gary Nolan say that the immunity language was 90% done, and I heard from somebody that we were getting close, and today it happened. So here's the language, and I'm going to go through it, and then I'm going to go through a summary that Dean Johnson did. Dean Johnson does great work on this, all of this stuff. I was hoping to have him on, but he's not able to speak about it yet, and I was hoping he would write something up, and he did on Facebook, which I'll read that too. So I'll go through the 9 pages, and it might be a little boring, especially with the congressional legalese. So it starts off, I'll skip some of the formalities. This is Gallagher, his language, but Gallego's name is included too. You'll see when I read Dean's Facebook post. So authorization for reporting, it says notwithstanding, in other words, in spite of the terms of any other written or oral non-disclosure agreement, order, or other instrumentality or means that could be interpreted as a legal constraint on reporting by a witness of an unidentified aerial phenomena. So in other words, despite any NDA they signed, reporting in accordance with the system established under subsection B. So with this new language, those folks are hereby authorized and shall be deemed to comply with any regulation or order issued under the authority of the executive order, blah, 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 related to classified national security information. And then it goes into all this stuff. Let me skip some of the basic stuff. It says, Head of the office on behalf of the Secretary of Defense, and this is just talking about the report. On behalf of the Secretary of Defense and the Director of National Intelligence shall establish a secure system for receiving reports of any event related to UAP and any government or government contractor activity or program related to a UAP. And that'll come up a little later, what programs they're referring to. So protection of systems, programs, and activity. The system established pursuant to paragraph 1 shall serve as a mechanism to prevent unauthorized public reporting or compromise of properly classified military and intelligence systems, programs, and related activity. So any classified stuff is not going to get out. And that includes all categories and levels of special access and compartmented access programs, current, historical, and future. So we're like, oh, so in other words, we're not going to hear about any of those special access programs. This sucks. That's what I'm reading it at the first time, and I'm like, that's not good. But there's more later on, which is good. So the system established pursuant to paragraph 1 shall be administered by designated and widely known, easy accessible, and appropriately cleared DoD and intelligence community employees or contractors assigned to the UAP task force or the office. The system established on the paragraph 1 shall provide for the immediate sharing with office personnel and supporting analysts and scientists of information previously prohibited from reporting under any NDA, written or oral agreement, order, or other instrumentality or means, except in cases where the cleared government personnel administrating such system conclude, and there's typos here, I believe, conclude that the preponderance of information available regarding the reporting indicates that the observed object and associated events and activities likely relate to a special access program, so they can report what they saw UFO related, unless it becomes obvious. That's one of our special access program pieces of technology. We don't want to talk about that. So if it becomes obvious that it relates to an SAP or compartmented access program that, as of the date of the reporting, has been explicitly and clearly reported, this is important. So if it belongs to a program, a special access program that has been explicitly and clearly reported to the congressional defense committees and congressional intelligence committees, like normal, and is documented as meeting those criteria. So if it's part of the system, because there's all of those programs, that will not be reported. So we're fine with that. That's not the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is programs that are not reported to Congress, which we'll get to. Hello to everybody, and you guys save your questions for after this, and then I'll read Dean's summary. I'm probably only going to do this for an hour, although I always say that and I go longer. Initial report. So we're on 3 of 9 still. Initial report and publication not later than 180 days after the date. So they're going to collect this information and put out a report not later than 180 days after the enactment of this act, which I believe is next year sometime. Blah, blah, blah. They'll submit the report to the congressional intelligence committees, the congressional defense committees, and the congressional leadership. And the report will detail the system established under paragraph 1. Nothing real exciting yet. It's like, all right, this is cool. Make available to the public on a website of the DoD information about such system, including clear public guidance for assessing and using such system and providing feedback about the expected timeline. There's nothing in there that says they're going to tell us what they found. I mean, of course, we'd love to see a website. Oh, witness number 1. Hello, I worked in the crash retrieval program starting in 1989. I met a guy named Bob Lazar. And I'm kidding about Lazar, but not really. But, that's what the people who believe Lazar would just flip out if that happened. And if anybody has not read my Lazar piece on my blog, it's a 50-50. I believe him. I don't believe him. But yeah, we want to hear and see transcriptions if we don't see the actual people who worked in these programs. That's like the holy grail of what we want to see. So annual reports, and it gets into some, once again, congressional leadership. It gets to the good stuff. Unless I missed it. Let's see. So they can report to the majority leader of the Senate. That's congressional leadership is considered the majority leader of the Senate. That was Harry Reid back in the day. The minority leader of the Senate the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Minority Leader of the House, and then stuff that's a little boring. So, the heads of such other departments and agencies of the federal, and I'm sorry, some of this is boring. I went through it earlier once. Identification of non-disclosure agreements. The Secretary of Defense, the Director of National Intelligence, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the heads of such other departments and agencies of the federal government that have supported investigations of the types of events covered in subparagraph 1 of subsection blah, 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 and contractors of the federal government supporting such activities and programs shall conduct comprehensive searches of all records related to non-disclosure orders or agreements or other obligations related to the types of events described in subsection A, UAP stuff, and provide copies of all relevant documents. And I just skipped something. Oh, there it is. All relevant documents to the office. Head of the office shall make the records compiled under paragraph 1 accessible to the Congressional Intelligence Committees, the Congressional Defense Committees, and leadership no later than September 30th, 2023. So we got a long ways to go by the time this is done. And then each year that report will be issued until the year 2026. So that doesn't mean we're waiting until 2026. It means once a year until 2026. I don't know how that's going to look, how that's all going to play out. When we get the first deadline, September next year, I don't know if we're going to have a bunch of witnesses. I don't know if we're going to get to hear from them. Like I said on Twitter, it's a first step. So it's a first step, and we needed this first step. Remember, we still have the Senate too. And there may be more coming. I don't know. The protection from liability. It shall not be a violation of Section 798 of Title 18 or any, and I don't know everything that says, but we can assume it's related to speaking about certain things in your NDA. It should not be a violation of any other provision of law, and no cause of action shall lie or be maintained in any court or other tribunal against any person for reporting any information through and in compliance with the system established pursuant to subsection 1. So you have something to say about UFOs. If you were in the 2019 event that Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp have reported about, you want to talk about what you saw, you can speak about that and not worry about any repercussions whatsoever. So that is huge. And I don't know if we're going to hear from those people before then. I know Jeremy Corbell said if they get immunity, he'll release everything. And he has those folks on record from 2019, so we get to hear from them. And as I said before, I'm open-minded about that. It could be drones. And if those folks come out and they tell us what they saw, we may all say, oh my God, it was drones. What the hell? What was the hype all about? I'm not saying that's happening because as far as I know, 2019 is still labeled unknown. So if you were listening to the spaces the other night, we had somebody who actually saw the report on the SIPRNet and said it's still labeled unidentified 2019 West Coast. So, and I've heard the same thing. Still, I want to hear the witnesses. Let me see. As far as Lazar, I don't know. As I've said, I would love for his story to be real. Do I want it to be real? I mean, it's not really I want it to be real. I just whatever is real or fake. If he's lying, whatever. I mean, I would love it because it's a great story. I mean, imagine we really had 9 flying saucers. Of course, they could be our back engineered technology. I don't know. As with most of the things with this phenomenon, I don't know. So prohibition on reprisals. An employee of a federal agency and an employee of a contractor for the federal government who has authority to direct others to take, recommend, or approve any personnel action shall not, with respect to such authority, take or fail to take or threaten to take or fail to take a personnel action, including the revocation or suspension of security clearances with respect to any individual as a reprisal for any reporting. So in other words, if I go report what I saw, my boss can't say, you just lost your security clearance. So that's another huge thing. They don't have to worry about losing their security clearance, which may bring forth a lot of people. I don't know. I don't know how many people are going to feel safe with this language, but it's only the beginning. This language is going to change. We're going to get the Senate involved. I cannot wait. I've been waiting to hear Senator Gillibrand. I want to see her speak to Bray and Moultrie and anybody else, because she's really good at holding their feet to the fire. If you saw that when she was dealing with the guy who was he was up for the IG of the, I don't know if it was the entire DOD, but she was asking him questions and say, you better find out before you come back to me. We haven't heard back from that guy, but he was rolling his eyes and she was having none of it. So I want to see her get involved again. So private right of action. In a case in which an employee described in paragraph 2 takes a personnel action against an individual. So if my boss says, you just talked about UFOs, I'm going to take away your security clearance. The individual, me, who spoke out, may bring a private civil action for all appropriate remedies, including injunctive relief and compensatory and punitive damages against the government or other employer who took the personnel action. So if you do anything to threaten me with reprisal for, you say you're going to take away my security clearance, like Lou said he's had done to him, you can sue the government or the employer who took the action against you. Which, if this makes it through to law, it's going to be huge. It's going to be really important. Will it make it through? I don't know. Review by inspectors general. Not later than 1 year after the date of the enactment of this act, the inspector general of the DoD and inspector general of the intelligence community shall each conduct an assessment of the compliance with the requirements of this section and the operation and efficiency of the system established under Section B. Boring. Submit to the congressional intelligence committees, the congressional defense committees, and I'm sure this is not boring, but it's boring for us because so they're going to submit a report. The IG will submit a report on their respective findings with respect to the assessments they conducted under paragraph 1. From congressional intelligence committees, blah, blah, blah. Goes through definitions. I know I need to go back because I did miss something. So this is just definitions. Define a UAP. Okay, so let me just go back to the most important thing, which I forgot. It's not obvious when you're reading it. It's definitely not obvious. So let me find it because it's really important. Here we go. Oh, darn it. I can read it to you. It basically says, and I read it, if there is a program that is reported to Congress and it's related, well, those programs are related to classified information, then those programs are covered. We're not going to get the information. Here it is. So, sorry. Here we go. Let me go back a little. I'm sorry, guys. Here we go. Sharing of information. The system established under paragraph 1, this is the most important piece, shall provide for the immediate sharing with office personnel and supporting analysts and scientists of information previously prohibited from reporting under any non-disclosure written or oral agreement, order, or other instrumentality or means, except in cases where the cleared government personnel administering such system conclude that the preponderance of information available regarding the reported indicates that the observed object and associated events and activities likely relate to a special access program or compartmented access program that, as of the date of the reporting, has been explicitly and clearly reported to the congressional defense committees and congressional intelligence committees and is documented as meeting those criteria. And I asked somebody about this, somebody in the know, somebody who's aware of this language. I said, what does that mean? Does that mean if there's a program that's not reported, that's off the books, is that not covered in this? And they said, yes, that's the key. So if there's a program, say, supposedly there's 4 related special access programs related to UFOs. If those programs are located and they haven't been reported to Congress, they're fair game. And that's really important. Those are the programs we want. And you guys have seen this. I've I've posted this before many times on Twitter. Let me get rid of this and pull it up. So give me 1 second. Oh, darn it, it's not here, of course. Oh, I know where it is. Let me just get rid of this. Darn it. It's here. All right. I'm going to read this, and I know you guys have seen this before. You guys have seen this before, but I'm going to read it again. Let's see. So what programs are we talking about? So alleged UFO-related programs, alleged crash retrieval programs. And I had a source when I did my Wilson Davis mega blog who told me this. Various people within the United States government in positions of oversight and who you would think had access to all UAP programs did not find the UAP crash retrieval program when they looked because they never knew of its existence. I and others in my circle have discussed the topic with them of how one cannot find waived, unacknowledged SAPs that operate outside of Section 119 of the Title 10. In fact, a DoD office can create a shell company and then transfer funds to it under an unremarkable commercial defense services contract. This is the way they hide a crash retrieval program. Then that shell company turns around and gives a subcontract to a third-party aerospace defense firm that hosts a waived, unacknowledged SAP that operates outside of Section 119 of Title 10. This usually hides, making the audit trail terminate at the shell company. The flow of money going to the third-party company that's running a waived, unacknowledged SAP where a UAP crash retrieval program is hidden. So in other words, people don't know about it in the government. It's hidden. That is not covered under that language where, oh, this is national security. This is national security. We can't talk about that. Those programs, the one I just read, especially if there's a crash retrieval program, that is not covered under that. Now, what that looks like when people come out and speak about it, I don't know. I don't know how that looks, but we'll get to see if this language makes it into the NDAA, and we have a long way to go. We still have the Senate to deal with this. You remember how it was last year with the language? We were worried. But it made it in, and we got a lot of stuff in there we didn't expect. Talking about exploitation of UAPs, which basically is crash retrievals, which Lou confirmed. And I see people saying hello, Tom. Let me read you Dean's summary, which is pretty quick, and then you guys can ask any questions and use the link to join. When we do spaces, I did one for the third time the other night. It was like 9,000 people came in. I think 100 people spoke or 50 people. So I was hoping to do a YouTube spaces type thing because you can always put tape on your camera if you don't want to show your face. For some reason, people don't want to do it here though. All right, let me find Dean's. Here we go. So this is Dean's analysis. Let me make it bigger. All right. So Dean put this on Facebook. I'm so glad that he did. So this is a lot shorter. He goes, breaking news. 2 members of the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Armed Services, Gallagher and Intelligence and Special Operations Subcommittee Chairman Ruben Gallego, let me get it bigger, have submitted a groundbreaking 9-page UAP-related amendment for possible addition to the House version of the fiscal year 2023 NDAA. Among other things, the proposal would require establishment of a secure system under which the Central Pentagon UAP Office, as revamped by Congress in December 2021, may receive information about possible previously unreported UAP-related programs. It's so huge if we get this language in and we go forward on this. This is what we've been wanting. It's probably the biggest news. This is the biggest news in the history of legislation and anything related legally in the history of the subject. So if we get this, and I don't know how long it's going to take, and Lou said come back in 5 years if you want to talk craft and bodies. I don't know if it's going to take 5 years, but the ball is rolling. So, unless we have another UFO crash and we have it live on television or some massive sighting, this is so important. It's so important that we have this. Gallego spoke to the right people, not Gallego, Gallagher, and Gallego too. So kudos to both of them. And it's Dean continues. He goes, so they're going to may receive information about possible previously unreported UAP related programs or data held anywhere within the government. And I'm going to put the link one more time that you guys want to join. Tom, I know you've joined me before in private. Feel free to join after I read this with Dean to offer your thoughts, or anybody. So that information reported would be then transmitted to key lawmakers. The proposal would provide legal protections for current or past military. There could be so many witnesses from this. Past military, whoever's alive from the 40s or 50s. Past military and intelligence agency employees, government contractors. The government contractors would be crash retrieval related, I believe. I don't know if it would all be government contractors, but that's what Wilson Davis says. One of the best top aerospace companies is in control of that craft, alleged intact craft. They can all come forward to provide UAP-related information through this secure system. As I read this proposal, it does not include any new legal obligations for individuals in possession of such information. So yeah, that's a big part that's missing right now. Maybe we'll get it later. So there's nothing that says if you don't come forward, as Lou said, if you don't come forward, you're going to jail in 6 months for being part of an illegal program, or whatever the legality is. There is not anything like that in this language. Hopefully that comes, because that will push these people to come forward. This, if it's me, like, you're like, all right, I don't want to go to jail, so I will tell you what I know. I'm sure there'll be some people who just refuse to put up the information because they think it's too world changing and people can't handle it. I mean, I talked to somebody who's in the Wilson Davis notes, and one of the things they told me, and it's in my mega blog, he's like, you don't want to bring this information forward. It would ruin religions. It would just be bad. Nothing good can come from that. So there are people like that. And that person was really connected to the Special Access, SAPCO, Special Access Program Coordinating Office, and that's probably wrong. Anyway, so Dean says, no legal obligations for individuals in this language in possession of such information to report it into the system, although such requirements may already exist in some circumstances. So I don't know what he's talking about there. Like I said, I tried to get him under current laws. So I guess if there's certain law says if you're part of a program that's not legal or off the books, you have to come forward. I don't know what he's talking about. He goes, rather, the proposal appears to provide broad protections against legal consequences or agency reprisals for individuals who decide to report pertinent UAP-related information into the new secure system. And somebody said, does that mean Lou can come forward and tell everything he knows? No, but there are things, and I've harped on this before, that are sensitive but not classified. And I'm hoping that information can be shared. If it's not classified, but it's sensitive because it might embarrass the government, we don't care. You need to tell us that information. If it's not classified, share it. So we may get that information first. We're obviously not getting classified information, although some of it should not be classified, as all of us know. If we have a craft and bodies, that fact should not be classified. It's the whole world should know that. And it doesn't mean Russia's going to be able to reverse engineer it just because we say we have a craft. It's nonsense. And I've heard that argument from people I know behind the scenes, and I totally disagree with it. Dean continues, the proposal does not contain any requirement that any UAP-related information reported into the new secure system would necessarily be made public. That sucks. Hopefully. I mean, if it's not made public, it's kind of like useless, not useless, but we need to see this stuff public to get the masses involved. We need to have witness after witness after witness who said, I worked in the crash retrieval program. This is exactly what I did. Here are pictures. We need that. We need those folks. We need to see their names. We need to see their faces. We need to look into their eyes. Obviously, we need to see the craft for ourselves. I don't think that's happening for a while, if ever, in my lifetime. But this is a start. The House Rules Committee is expected to decide during the week of July 11th, which of the nearly 1,200 submitted amendments, there's a whole bunch of amendments. This is just one. This is the only UAP-related one that I know of. Which of the nearly 1,200 submitted amendments to H.R. 7900 may be considered on the floor of the House of Representatives the full House of Representatives might take up the NDAA and consider in-order amendments during the same week or during the following week. So we're going to know pretty quick where this language is going. There is no UAP language in the version of the NDAA, as yet unnumbered, that was reported out of the Senate Armed Services Committee on June 16th. The Senate may take up its version of the NDAA before the end of July. Let's hope so. We need the Senate on this. I don't see why Rubio and Gillibrand will not have their own version. A final version of the NDAA would then be hammered out in negotiations between key lawmakers on the respective Senate and House committees. In short, the Gallagher Gallego proposal still has many legislative hurdles ahead of it, but its bipartisan sponsorship is that's important. Lots of hurdles ahead of it, but its bipartisan sponsorship is a very positive factor. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence on June 23rd approved its version of an Intelligence Authorization Act for 2023. The bill text has not yet been made public, but a press release issued by Warner and Rubio said that it contains a provision enhancing oversight of intelligence community and DoD collection and reporting of unidentified aerospace undersea phenomena. So yeah, we're dying to see that language. And hopefully it's similar to this about giving people protection. We need the protection, and we need to be able to get access to these special access programs if they exist. And in my opinion, unless this has been one giant scam for decades, I think those programs exist. I once asked Eric Davis, I said, in your opinion, on a scale of 1 to 10, how sure are you that there's a crash retrieval program? And he said, on a scale of 1 to 10, 100. And he goes, and I'm not the only one. There's people alive that believe that, and there are people who are now dead who believed that. In many years, but I still need to see it for myself, and all of us do too. We could say as much as we want that we believe it or we have opinions that it exists, but we need to see it. We need to see it because there are people who think it's all a psyop, like Eric Weinstein. And I'm open like this. I'm keeping my mind open because I haven't seen it for myself, but I lean heavily towards this stuff existing. I don't see why they would keep it quiet this long to fool Russia and China, or it would be the Soviet Union we were fooling back then. All these years to fool. I mean, would they even buy that? And it was Kit Green. I was reading Jacques Vallée's Forbidden Science Volume 4, and Kit Green suggested maybe this crash retrieval stuff is all to fool the Russians. And Vallée's like, would they even buy that? Would they even believe it? Anyway, in many years, the NDAA and the Intelligence Authorization Act are merged at a later stage in the legislative process. However, this does not occur every year, and it did not occur last year, which were enacted separately, each with distinct but non-conflicting UAP-related provisions because they work together on it. So that's it. Nobody really commented on that from Dean, which is great that Dean did that. But you guys can ask any questions, and I will go through them for another half an hour. Let me see. So I'm just seeing if there's. I know there's comments earlier, but anyway, we'll get to your questions. Let's see. If you have any questions earlier, just ask again. If not, I'll end early. So it's all right, James. You can watch it later. SAPOC, the Special Access Program Oversight Committees. Yeah, I spoke with somebody who had, I don't know how to write the right wording. They were part of that. It's in my, you'll see, it's an unnamed person. That was the scariest thing I've ever done as far as making a blind phone call like that. I didn't make a graphic, darn. I was going to make a graphic for this, and I did not do it. So anyway, you guys, nobody's going to call in with the link. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, the hearing was good. I was going to do Brazil. I'm glad I didn't do it. It was like 8 hours, I think. It was longer. Have you talked to Mike Smith about the documents he uncovered while filming the documentary that started out having nothing to do with? No, I don't even know what that is. So let me know what that is. I don't know what that is. The B-1 bomber program ended up getting disclosed because Northrop would have gotten in trouble with the SEC for not notifying stockholders of a material financial information. there's going to be issues with that. Lou has touched upon it. And by the way, I know people who think that the crash retrieval program is foreign technology. Other people believe it's non-existent. And Lou has said if it's there and some specific aerospace company had access to technology that other folks did not, then that's going to be a problem legally. I'm going to because the other people had an advantage over everybody else. What's up, Sam?
What is up, Joe? How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. I can hear you very well. Thank you for
Awesome.
being a part of this.
Dude, I love that you're going over it. I'm not good at paperwork. I'll just put it that way. So it's good to hear
Me
a good
either.
breakdown of this.
Yeah.
Oh, you follow the trails pretty well. So I'm really impressed. And it's good to hear kind of a breakdown. Something piqued my interest. You were talking about how Eric Weinstein and other people might think this is kind of a psyop. I'm very fascinated with that perspective. And Eric Weinstein, he's on the forefront. And when he says something, people listen. So I'm curious with this movement, do you think that there's going to be it's going to be harder for people like Eric to consider this all a psyop? Are we moving towards a really good acknowledgement from even academics with this type of move?
Depends on how many witnesses come forward, and depends on what they say. I mean, if you get credible scientist after credible scientist after credible member of the Air Force or whoever these folks are,
right?
I think it's going to turn the tide, and people are going to say, okay, obviously not everybody is lying. It's so important. I mean, if we have a couple of people, yeah, but you look at the Wilson Davis notes. If that's accurate, there was 400 to 800 people on that bigot list just for that one program. If we can get a percentage, say we can get 10%, we get the low number. We get 40 people coming forward and say, throughout the years, I worked on the program. We had an intact craft that we thought could fly through other dimensions, water, air, space, and you just get witness after witness after witness. At some point, you would think people who think PSYOP are going to give in and say, obviously this was real, whatever this was.
Right.
And I don't know how they're going to show us craft. If let's say they have an intact craft, are they going to show us pictures? Like Bigelow has alluded to pictures, video. I mean, we're not going to, are they going to take it? Are they going to take a field trip and bring a videographer and say, here it is? I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I wonder. I think producing a with a small documentary would be really smart.
That's a really good idea. Especially the witnesses who worked in the program, bring them there.
Yes. And I don't know if the government really utilizes video and film as much as they should. I mean, with a nice soft music track, they can make people feel sympathetic towards the cause. It would be really smart for them to produce stuff like that to kind of get people up to speed. But it is interesting that we kind of have the ball in our court as far as how we want to perceive this thing. But I think you're right. A craft would be great, you know what I mean? But a lot of these people coming forward on an official level, yeah, it would mean the world. And I feel like they have done that to a degree back with even Stephen Greer's projects, let's say pre 2001, right?
Right.
There was he had a huge effort to get people out and talking about it. But I will say that one of the confusing aspects of that piece was that there wasn't really any solid breadcrumbs to follow. You just kind of were left knowing something was unknown, but you didn't get a clear description of specific craft. You didn't get a clear description of propulsion. There wasn't really anything to land on other than that there was something there. I think if we move forward with more, efforts to get people on an official level to talk about it, it would be really nice if while they did that, we were able to build some type of in our mind, a structure for this stuff. Like, where do we compartmentalize the craft? What's an abduction? This type of stuff I think would be really cool as they rolled this stuff out to give us a structure to place everything.
And I don't know. And I will, Amy, I'll put the document in the notes as soon as we're done. I don't know if there would be an abduction special access program that looked just into that, but if there is, oh my God, imagine that. Imagine people coming forward talking about what they learned about abductions. I mean, that's not what I'm foreseeing coming right now. I'm foreseeing amazing sightings and data, and hopefully a crash retrieval program as far as getting access to it.
Yeah,
and maybe bodies. There would be biology. I mean, this is the thing that opened my mind to the PSYOP possibility. Kit Green, in his interview with Richard Dolan, said he was given multiple opportunities. They brought him in. They're like, we're going to read you into the top program, the top UFO program. And every time, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 times, at the very last minute, they said, sorry, you're not getting read in. So either he did something that they said, we can't trust this guy, or it didn't exist. And then also Eric Weinstein said he's been told, he's going to be given information, and he has not been given that information. So what the hell is going on?
Yeah, there was some like weird delay, right? They were told, "Hey, get ready, something's about to happen."
Yeah, Sam Harris and him. Yeah,
it was interesting watching Sam Harris, like kind of like yeah, I've been told in more or less words that this is going on and to get ready, and then we heard nothing, and then neither did they. That was shocking to find out. But yeah,
it's the same. Yeah, it's the same pattern. It's the same pattern as Kit Green. What happened with Kit Green? Somebody asks, Mark Pilkington approached the subject with the PSYOP angle, and Mirage Man looked at a lot of Cold War era classified programs, well written. Yeah, I've seen Mirage Man. I have the book. I haven't read all of it. It's interesting. Imagine if we were all fooled all of this time. I know there are people that believe that. I don't believe that. There's just too many witnesses, especially civilians. At the very least, we have, at the very least, there is technology on this planet that does amazing things, in my opinion. But we have not seen, it's all witness testimony. So I have never seen a video that just blows me away. That's what everybody wants. And everybody wants that. And, we see like the NASA video that's going around from 5 years ago. It's all right. It's fine. That is not going to wake up my family and friends. It's going to be, if it's an F-18 sighting where they came up close, Ryan Graves said that the cube within a spear was off the wing of the plane, paced the plane for a while, the F-18, and then just took off straight up. So if we had that video, we also have the pilots and the Wizzos, that would be really important. I don't know. Like somebody said to me today that no matter what, there are going to be some people that just will not believe it no matter what.
100%. I mean, 100%. It doesn't really matter what you show them at a certain level. It's too much for people to bear. It's too much shift. So there's going to be a small percentage of people who just choose to ignore it. That's my opinion. And then there's people right now who we're seeing, like, they're just throwing up like spook to everybody. They think everybody's lying to create this weird narrative. I think a lot of those people haven't really experienced something themselves, whether it be a sighting or just a weird, anomalous event or some type of thing they could identify as the phenomena. And I don't know. There's a lot of doubt and speculation going on there, and it's being cast across a really wide net. And it just seems like it's throwing shade on a lot of the progress that's been made. And I wonder, like with Skinwalker Ranch and Ryan Graves and these witnesses that are coming out saying this stuff, it'll be really nice to have something to back that up.
Ryan Graves, I cannot believe people are questioning Ryan Graves, who has come out and said, in 60 Minutes, do you think it could be a foreign adversary? He goes, I don't see why not. And then he shares a story about his friend who had the cube within a spear pace the plane and go straight up. And people are insinuating that he's lying. Are you kidding me? Are you that bad a judge of character to say that Ryan Graves is lying? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't understand.
It doesn't fit. Ryan Graves, it seems like he's completely telling the truth, along with a bunch of other official pilots and stuff. But it's weird how everybody has an equal voice in it. So people who know what they're talking about have the same voice as people who are just throwing like, hey, don't trust that person, don't trust this person, and not giving us any real other option to kind of go for. So it's interesting. But John, I really appreciate you doing this live thing and really breaking this stuff down for us. Because I read through it, I got to be honest, and it was a little stiff. I tried to even read it on one of my spaces. I was like, all right, I know. But it's important. It's important to get through.
I put those 2 points to somebody I trust. I said, so basically these folks can come forward out retribution, and if a program is not on the record, it's not covered by the old national security coverage. And they're like, yep, that's it. So those two basic things, those programs are not covered. And if they exist, we should find out about them at some point. When, I don't know. But yeah, Sam, thank you very much. Other folks, I see there's 2 people here, but it says device not connected. So I don't know if you're using the wrong browser. You need to use, I know Chrome works for this.
Oh yeah, Chrome's solid.
Chrome works. I don't know about other browsers, but and I will do one of your spaces soon, Sam.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'll keep sending you invites. I do them. Sometimes they're casual. Thanks. Sometimes they're pointed at like certain subjects or whatever, but they're always fun. And it's it's a good space to come by and hear people talk about their experiences too. And we try to keep it organized so people aren't really yelling at each other. So it's pretty good.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll definitely, I'll look forward to that. And I'm going to add somebody and I will talk to you soon.
Yeah. Until next time, Joe, thanks again.
All right, Sam. Thanks. Salon, are you there?
Yeah, hey Joe, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I just have two questions. So with this NDA, obviously my assumption is the DoD is gonna try to kill this, right?
Right.
Because if this goes through, then it's like a hands-off situation where the DoD is screwed, right? They're
They're
gonna get the
screwed.
gun. They're gonna get the gun. What's it called? Aimed at them, right? So
Right.
my belief is NASA already knew that, that the DoD is screwed, and this is eventually going to come out. So that's why they jumped ship, right? For all these years, they've been saying there's nothing here, and then out of the blue, they're like, "Hey, we're going to start investigating UAP." That's just not a coincidence. I believe that they already know what's going on, but they know, all right, we don't want the gun to be on us, because if they find out because of NASA's been lying to them, then the PR is going to look so bad that they're going to lose all their funding. Do you have Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think a lot of people are going to be caught, or I don't know about people, organizations, and people are going to be caught lying. Watch whatever you have there is rubbing. Just be careful with what's rubbing something. So on. What was I going to say about oh yeah, so yeah, people right away are like, there's no way this is going to pass, and there are other people saying that whatever these programs are, whatever they have, they're going to either destroy it or hide it. Now, I did ask somebody a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I said, do you think they're going to destroy this stuff? And they said, destroy, no. Hide is a possibility. Move it is a possibility. So hopefully, I don't know who, somebody came out today, I forget who said it, and they said, we don't know where this stuff is. And I'm like, Lou said he would know exactly where to look. I'm pretty sure there are other people who know where to look. Don't believe that we don't know where to look. I am very confident we know where to look. Now, whether or not they move stuff, I don't know how they would do that.
Well,
I would think if they know where to look, they will pay attention and keep a close eye on those locations to make sure they don't move it.
Well, this language isn't for us. It's mainly for the hearings, for Lou and Mellon to come forward, because they know where the bodies are hidden.
Right.
They are the two people that are most important to this thing, for the other people to come forward. And eventually, if enough people come forward, then the DoD is going to have to crack, because the pressure is just going to be so enormous that they have to. But what do you think about another hearing before this NDA passes?
Another hearing is coming. I just don't know when. I've heard another hearing is coming, but I have not been given a date on whether or not it's going to be before this or after. So people just need to be patient. I know there are people out there saying it's going to happen in a week or 2 weeks. No, I have not heard any date. There's going to be hearing.
Aren't we supposed to get an unclassified report in August?
Yeah, and I don't know the date. If that's the date, yes. Is that in the NDA from 2022?
I think so. Yeah, we're supposed to. I haven't heard anything any news about that, but if it's in the NDA, we should, and it's probably going to be nothing, because the AIMSOC has been completely incompetent. But
they're getting rid of it. They're
finally.
They come up with another way of doing things, which is going to take time, of course.
But I think this time, especially with this time, I think they're gonna finally nail these suckers.
Yeah, I hope so, Sawan. And thank you for calling in. I'm going to switch over to Joe C. And thank you for being part of the show.
Yeah, thank you. Have a nice night.
You too. What's up, Joe?
Fellow Joe. Always
How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. It's been a really good day when this language came out of the blue.
I agree, but I guess in some respects, I mean, there were rumors that this type of thing was being worked on by Congress for a while now. So it was definitely good news. Very encouraging to see that it came out today. I was pleasantly surprised as well. I'm still just trying to understand, maybe what all possible ends are that are going to come out of this. And I guess maybe we shouldn't be putting the cart before the horse either, because obviously this isn't passed legislation, and even once it is, there has to pass the Senate too. But for that point, I guess I will just throw out there. I know that I saw that there was a person on UFO Twitter, Katie Howland, I think, was advocating for contacting reps on
Yeah, on a
Tuesday, coordinated effort.
specific day, yes.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd probably just throw out there, it might not be a bad idea to encourage some support towards that amendment. But I guess actual question I wanted to ask you, what do you think the significance was? You kind of already touched on it a little bit, but there had been a number of individuals that commented on this last year before the 2021 report came out that were talking about some sort of impending disclosure, and yet that fell through. Do you have any like speculation on maybe why that did, and do you think that an effort like this was maybe more needed as to why that fell through, because the powers that were involved didn't want to play ball, and so now they're going to be compelled to from legislation?
Who was saying that? Because I never, from the people I talked to, I never got that. It's always been, you need to be patient. It's going to take time. It's always that. And then, do you remember who was saying that? It's just people in the community. Were there?
Well, it was actually people outside. Like Sam Harris talked about how there was going to be information. Now, he didn't give a specific date, but it made it seem like it was close to term. So
yeah, and then Eric Weinstein said he was in that same situation. They promised information or some sort of reveal, and it didn't happen. And I have not heard Sam Harris comment on it. I'm assuming the same thing happened with him. Why that happened, I don't know. And when I saw that, something clicked in my head with the old Kit Green having that happen to him, bringing him to the edge, say, here you go, we're going to show you the best of the best. And then, sorry, we're not, go home. So I don't know what that means. I mean, when I mentioned PSYOP, I've hammered on people talking about that, but I leave a little bit open. To me, it makes no sense whatsoever. I don't see the end game of what that is. People are like, well, it's related to the black technology. We've cracked gravity. I'm like, yeah, but why do you need to do a PSYOP for that many years? I don't get it. Why they would need to do that. So why we didn't, I don't think we ever were going to get disclosure. Those folks, and I don't think anything was coming imminent where it's like, here you go, here's everything. And I don't know who was telling them that. I don't know who was talking to Sam Harris, who Eric was speaking to. That would help if we knew who those folks were. I mean, there are people out there, there are folks out there who don't want this. Maybe they were putting out, misinformation to make everybody look bad when it didn't happen. I don't know. So I just, people need to be patient. This language isn't going to happen enacted till next year. I mean, next year when it hopefully gets signed and hopefully it makes it through. And like you said, if it makes it through, it's a huge deal. So it's a first step of many steps. It's just amazing. I never thought before 2017 we'd even be talking about this. The fact that we're having the conversation is amazing to me. Hopefully it goes through.
Well, the other thing too to keep in mind is the language itself doesn't require any sort of public disclosure of information. It just provides a secret repository for people to present the information that they are aware of due to their activities under their NDAs, and also provides for Congress to be compelled to, or provides a compulsion for individuals in the DoD and in intelligence services to provide information to Congress relating to what NDAs there exist on the UAP topic in general. So, like you said, I think it's a long road, but it is interesting to me because, like hypothetically, let's say, and have no proof of this, right? But like hypothetically, let's say there have been crash retrievals and there have been secret reverse engineering programs going through, waived unacknowledged special access programs for years. What is interesting about that is you would think ultimately there would have been some prior plan, and this is an important point. I think there would have been some sort of prior plan on how they would want to eventually, because obviously the cat's going to come out of the bag one day, reveal that information to the general populace, or at least pieces of it, right? So what's interesting is it doesn't appear that that is what we're getting, and why that is, I don't have an answer, but it's almost like this is like some sort of organic movement from people that had some sort of exposure to it, trying to get the information out rather than the actual secret holders deciding that it was time to go through with whatever plan they had to actually expose the information. At least that's how it appears to me, but that's total conjecture.
Yeah. And I'm sorry if I missed some of that. My dog was going crazy. I had to mute it. You would think, I don't know. It seems like they're not really prepared with any plan. It seems like most of the government doesn't realize this is real yet. Most of the populace doesn't realize this is real yet. So I don't know if they're banking on, and correct me if I'm missing your point because I was distracted by the dog. I don't know if they're banking on the fact that people really haven't reacted to what's come out yet. I hope not, because, Lou's like, well, we've had disclosure and religions haven't crumbled, people haven't run in the streets. I'm like, people don't realize this is real yet. The masses don't realize it's real, and they don't even know what it is. Depending on what this is, once it does hit, I think it's going to be a different reaction. How people will react, I don't know. There are people who think that they'll be all excited for a week, 10 days, and then everybody will go back to their lives like nothing happened. I don't know. It depends. It depends on what the real story is. And so, yeah, tell me if I missed what your point was.
You were along the lines. I guess my point was exactly what you were saying, and that it doesn't appear that this is like a coordinated effort necessarily. It seems like it's a different group. And my point was, assuming there was special access programs, you would think that they would have had some sort of plan to eventually release some information to the populace when it was appropriate to do so, or the cat couldn't possibly be kept in the bag anymore. So it's really interesting to see that that isn't happening. It's almost as if the people that are holding the secrets, if these do indeed exist, then they're really trying their best to continue to hold on to that secret. And
Exactly.
why would be another interesting point, right? Like
if you read Kit Green's The Alien Autopsy email from 2001 or 2000, he talks about those folks, and he said they do not think that human beings deserve this information. They're more worried about who wins the game on Sunday and all that stuff. This was back in 2000, and they just don't think people can handle the truth. They don't think people deserve the truth. So that was him saying that, which would not surprise me. I mean, obviously, look at society today. Look at what gets the most attention. The hearing had a paltry amount of viewers. Meanwhile, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, millions and millions of people. So I really can't argue with them. And they're going to hold on. That's exactly what I think. They're going to hold on. They think they can hold on and fight this off. It's really going to be interesting to see if this NDAA language makes it in, because once it does, those folks, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they're going to be running for the hills, or they're going to be pulling out all stops. I don't know what else they can do. And, people are like, oh, they'll do a fake alien invasion. I mean, I don't think that's happening. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting next year to see how they handle it. And please, if they know where this stuff is, please have everybody keep an eye on that. Obviously, they know that, right? They know, keep an eye on the locations where you think this stuff is, so they can't move it.
Well, that brings up another point about that. What about the CRADA agreement that Tom DeLonge's TTSA has with the Army? I mean, he has some material that is anomalous at the very least, right? That is under that CRADA agreement. Allegedly, right? Yeah, but I mean, the U.S. Army released a CRADA agreement on it.
Right.
They must think it's also anomalous. Otherwise, the CRADA agreement's wording would have been disingenuous.
I think the Army thinks it's worth looking into, and it costs them nothing to look into except their own scientists and equipment. Because people are like, look, To the Stars is getting $750,000. I'm like, no, that's not what they're getting. It's just a representation of how much money it would cost to use those scientists in the Army and their equipment. They're not getting any money. It's no money is exchanging hands. But like at the time, I was like, all right, this is fine. They don't have the money to do it themselves. But if, let's say, one of those pieces of arts parts, the bismuth magnesium, let's say they beam the right amount of terahertz energy at it and it starts to levitate. Do anybody think that they're going to let that out to the public? I don't. I know it says both sides get the results. I just don't believe that.
Well, there's usually deals and there's back deals, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
So let me take some questions, Joe. Thank you for calling. I
appreciate your
really
time.
appreciate it. It's nice to have people calling in. I will look at questions, and you guys feel free to. I'll give out the link one more time. I don't know if you're still there, Tom, but it's nice to have callers in. Any questions? Yep. Good night, John. I am well grounded. Sometimes I'm too grounded. I get stuck to the ground. Yeah, I was trying to get Mark. I was trying to get Michael Vi on tonight, but he has a very early day tomorrow. You want to hear a smart guy? My God, he knows so much stuff about the phenomenon, the history, everything. He also believes we've cracked gravity, which a lot of people are don't agree with him on. By the way, there is somebody here. They're using the wrong. I think you're using the wrong browser. I cannot bring you in. Twitter. Hold on, guys. It's in the chat, Tom. The link, I've sent it a lot of times. It would be great if you can join. There's Gabby. We got Gabby from Mexico. Gabby, how are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you.
Hey,
Where
what's
are
up? I'm glad I'm in my house in Mexico City. I'm glad to be able to say hello to you, brother.
I'm glad you called in. What are you thinking?
Hey, well, what I was actually wanted to talk about with you is like, I don't know if you have heard or have read about like other, UFO podcasters, investigators, their reactions after these hearings, because I've been noticing that some of them have taken extreme postures about this. Like for example, here in Mexico, Jaime Maussan, this guy, he's been, making a lot of superlatives like finally the US is accepting the phenomenon, this is real, stuff like that. But who I wanted to ask to you about is Linda Moulton Howe. I don't know if you have been watching her podcast recently.
I have not.
Well, she's been like, even like since the first week after the hearings, she's been like making all these very incredible claims, is the only way I can describe them. But she's been like, supposedly releasing documents she has, but like these are like Majestic 12 type documents, like, very hard to confirm as real. But in one of the episodes, she talked about, I know this is gonna sound ridiculous, Joe, but this is the type of topics I like to talk about with you, because I know you have also taken a walk into the strangest side of the UFO phenomenon, if you will. But she talked about like an apparent like interstellar type of ships, American ships, and she even gave the names of the ships. I wanted to know if you have heard about this. Like the names of the ships she gave were the USS Curtis LeMay, the USS Hoyt Vandenberg, and the USS Roscoe Hillenkotter. I don't know how to pronounce it, Joe. Have you heard anything about this?
No, I have not heard about it. And the only thing I will say is, Will Miller, who's part of the Wilson Davis documents, who I met, who I'm friends with, I haven't spoken to him in a couple of years. He, in my interview, said he believes that we have craft that can go anywhere, anytime in the universe. So travel in time. So Will's not just some guy. I could see you, Tom. I'll bring you in a little bit. Will's just not some guy. Will's a very smart guy who briefed people on his own time in the Pentagon, in the government. He's the one that briefed Admiral Wilson. Didn't really need Stephen Greer to be there, but Greer was there. So but there are people when I say that they're like, no way. Somebody I spoke to the other day on the phone, works in the government. They're like, no way. We don't have this technology. There's just no way. I know how government works and we don't have it. I'm like, okay. There are people like Michael Vai, who I've interviewed, who believe we do. There are people like Will Miller who believe we do. So I don't close the door on that. But yeah, I mean, what does she present as evidence? Documents. I suck at documents, number one. I can't authenticate documents. That's not my thing. So yeah, it's interesting. So you say, okay, Linda, that's interesting. But unless we have evidence, it really doesn't amount to much. And even with Will, but Will Miller has a reputation. I mean, Leslie Keene in her book called him a true insider. Brilliant guy. He's had access. If you read the Wilson Davis notes, his letter is in there trying to give Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff access to information related to crash retrievals and alien reproduction vehicles. So we've been back engineering stuff, allegedly. So I don't know, Gabby. I mean, I'm stuck in the middle because you have smart people on both sides. Most people say we have not cracked gravity. There are other people behind the scenes who are hinting that we have. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's very hard to sometimes take Linda seriously because, for example, in the last episode, she was like showing like Reddit or like a 4chan screen capture, and she thought it was like, you know, like some hacked email or some like super secret information, and it came across very bad. And before I finish, Joe, if I can have 1 more minute with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to recommend you like to investigate or to follow this saga that's been happening in Spain and in Europe. I don't know if you know about this. What's the name? The Taygetians or something like that movement. Like
I have not. Send it to me on
like,
Twitter.
Yeah, it's like this guy, the exopolitics guy, Michael Sala. You know this guy, the
Michael Sala. I do know Michael Sala. Not a fan.
Yeah.
But...
No, I know. That's why I'm telling you. Like, apparently, like there's like a bunch of people that, you know, supposedly get like chat messages from extraterrestrials, and some girls that were on this like type of cult, they just found out it was kind of like a big operation with many supposed contactees involved, like getting fooled, and they did a video. It's in Spanish, but it's very interesting about the methodology they use to fool people, and they are on the belief that there might be some Russian propaganda behind all of it. It's very interesting, and for American, UFO enthusiasts, it's interesting because these people behind this, hoax, just got a show in Gaia TV and the Gaia network. So it's kind of like something that's growing, like that disinformation.
Yeah, Gaia is another red flag for me, but I'm not saying they don't have interesting information. But send it to me on a DM, and I'm going to let you go, Gabby. I have one more person to bring in.
Thank you. Yeah, good night. Thank you for all you do, brother. Thank you, man.
Yeah,
sorry
thanks for the interview we did, and my interpreter says hello. Hola.
Yeah.
Have a good night, man.
Bye. Hola.
Bye. So I have to wait until the blender stops. Maybe. Okay. That's enough. Yeah, we may have cracked gravity. It's very possible. You see how the research went behind the scenes. Let me bring Tom in. There you are, Tom.
Are you sure that wasn't a UFO, Joe?
It was not a UFO propulsion system blender.
Okay.
Tom and I have had discussions that I would always wished afterwards. I'm like, why didn't I record that? But now we got our chance. How you doing?
Well, I'm not real optimistic about the kind of disclosure that we need. I mean, we need, the crash saucers and bodies and all that good stuff. And if it is real and they've been keeping it secret, they've been doing it for a long time, and they've been doing it for a reason. And they have some kind of methodology of burying it so that even the inspector generals, I don't think, can do anything about it, because they're the General Accounting Office and the Inspector General of the Air Force or of the DOD or whatever. I mean, they're going to know what is in there, or they should know what's in there. And they've either concealed it so that the inspector general can't see it, or they've read them the Riot Act and convinced them that they shouldn't make any of this public. And I think the only reason why we are where we are is because Elizondo and Mellon have acted as whistleblowers, and they've gotten the ball rolling. But I just don't know if even the Congress can get to the bottom of it. They would have to conduct a Watergate-style investigation,
Right.
or this kind of investigation that occurred in the church committee, where they call them all in and make them swear on the Bible to tell the truth, or else. And they have to have the political will to get to the bottom of that, and I'm not sure they do.
And if they try their best and they're rebuffed, what do they do? I mean, what if they just say, no, we're not telling you? What are they going to do? They're going to just go and break down the doors of wherever they think this stuff is. Lou says, I can tell you where it is and we can go there right now. How does that work? How would that work? Let's just say it's at Grumman Northrop. We know exactly where it is. This is where you need to go. Does our government go in and say, we're taking control? How would that even look legally? Could they do that? I mean,
well, the problem is you have separation of powers in the government. So the Congress doesn't have any policing authority. They have police that protect them on the Capitol grounds and all that, but they don't have their own police force or their own investigative force like the FBI. The only thing they can do is turn over a recommendation to the Department of Justice, and then sick them on them. But that's almost a bridge too far, because they would have to have documented proof, basically, or very strong documented evidence that some law is being broken. I mean, we speculate about that, and
right.
It may very well be the case, but having documented evidence and even proof to turn over to the Justice Department, a referral to the Justice Department, that's something that they're going to have to be able to get through having the political will to dig into this thing until they get to the bottom of it. And I just don't know if there's the political will there.
Yeah, they may not be at this point. I wonder if enough of the people who were in the program say, well, we're coming forward and we're going to talk about what we saw. I wonder if that happens. Let's say it's 30 people. I wonder if that would be enough to wake up the masses to say, do you hear what they're saying? They're saying they worked on craft they believe that was not made on this planet, and it's live hearings. Whether or not we even get that, it might be all behind closed doors, which is not going to do the trick, obviously. Yeah, you bring up a great point, and I'm positive and happy about today. But I realize there's a long way to go. I realize it's just not going to happen, and there's so many ways this can fall apart. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would love to hear questions to Lou and Mellon exactly about this. What if they just put up a fight? What can we do?
The departments within the executive, not just DOD, but other departments, health, education, welfare, energy department, they stonewall Congress all the time.
Right.
Congress requests information from the president's office or from the executive branches, and they just stonewall them. And it's like you say, what are they going to do about it?
And it's not really exactly the point we're talking about now, but recently on a Facebook page, I'm sorry, this is going off on a tangent, but it popped into my head. And it's a private Facebook page, so the person who runs the page doesn't want us sharing stuff. So somebody, a famous scientist, a well-known scientist, talked about Holloman Air Force Base, and saying how they verified the information. And if we actually, and it would be, you said we need to see the bodies, we need to see the craft, allegedly, if we have that stuff. And then this next level up at Holloman, it's apparently a craft landed and they met with our Air Force in a meeting. So just like that, I mean, have you done any work on Holloman at all? Any opinions on it?
Well, I'm very familiar with the stories and the rumors, and there
Tell people the story, because some people may not know what Holloman is about.
Well, there's a story that there was some kind of agreement to meet with some alien group at Holloman Air Force Base. Now, one version is that the saucer lands and then a couple of Air Force colonels come out and they talk for a few minutes, and then the aliens fly off. Another version is that Eisenhower landed there, and actually went in the craft for a period of time. And it's kind of like the second iteration of the rumor about Eisenhower meeting aliens when he was in California. And I think that was on Edwards Air Force Base or some vicinity there. And now Richard Doty claimed that the Socorro landing, that the Lonnie Zamora incident, was because that was actually going to be the Holloman meeting, but they had the coordinates wrong, and that's why they landed in the wrong place, and then they took off.
They put the wrong coordinates in their GPS.
Yeah, and something like that. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe, but
yeah,
but that's another version of it.
And a lot about Doty. It's funny because people totally ignore Doty, but I think you've transcribed, or you have almost all of his lectures. Have you transcribed all of his lectures?
I've transcribed about 15 or more of his interviews on YouTube. I haven't transcribed them. I've taken notes.
Okay.
Pretty extensive notes.
Yeah, your notes are good. What do you think about Doty? I know we've spoken about this before.
I think he's part of the mix. And, until we get solid confirmation, from some third party, I think we have to hold a lot of his claims in abeyance. But I don't take the attitude that he's just a liar and that you can't believe anything that he says. I think that he does know some things. For one thing, he claims that he was briefed on the secret program way back in 1979, 1980, in order for him to do his work as an AFOSI special agent. And then also after he left the Air Force, he's been meeting with other retired intelligence people, from AFOSI and other agencies, and they've apparently told him a lot of things, that he didn't find out about when he was in AFOSI. So he's been sharing a lot of that information, and I'm not inclined to just write it all off. I think we have to take it into consideration.
Yeah, the people I speak to, they said, do not just write him off. You'll have some good information mixed in with bad information. So. And I've gotten flack. I was a couple of years ago. I was at the MegaCon and I was speaking with Doty, and people were like, "Oh my, what is he speaking to Doty?" I'm like, "Give me a break." And George Knapp's like, "Yeah, it's like this. Forget the wording he used, but yeah, he has such a reputation. I understand it because of the Benowitz thing and Linda Moulton Howe, but there may put it aside just to see, is there information there that's valuable? And I think there is probably some information there. The problem is I don't know how to distinguish which is good information, which is not good information. I mean, that's obviously the problem.
Well, it's the same thing with Linda Howe. Linda Howe seems to have at least one contact from the Defense Intelligence Agency, and maybe other contacts. And she's made all kinds of wild claims based on that. And some of it may be true, some of it may be false. All of it may be true, all of it may be false. But until we're able to get some kind of confirmation, some way, I think we just have to keep an open mind and maybe take a lot of it with a grain of salt too.
Yeah, I've followed her for a while. I mean, her crop circle work was interesting, but she's like, I remember I went to a conference, Tom, and it was Colin Andrews had said that he had sent W.C. Levengood a sample of a crop that was man-made, and Levengood came back and said that it was anomalous. And I brought it up at a conference, and she was there, and Colin Andrews was there, and she got so upset. And her cattle mutilation work is amazing. She was one of the first, but she just leans too much alien for me. I think a lot of that is humans. Crystal Bryan does amazing work, and I get flack for even saying that. Why would humans do that? But yeah, Linda Moulton Howe, appreciate. She's done so much work, but I don't know if I put her in the Doty camp, only because he admits that he was part of disinformation. But yeah, her information is questionable, and I don't want to be mean to her.
It's questionable because it's so some of it is so far-fetched, but that doesn't mean it isn't true.
Right, yeah.
I want to treat her with courtesy and respect. And she's another source of information. And I see this whole problem as an intelligence problem. You know, we need to gather all the information and analyze it and try to make sense out of it. You know, looking at the whole picture, everything that we have.
No, I agree. How are you feeling overall the last 4.5 years? Did you ever think we'd even be talking about this stuff at this point before the New York Times article came out?
No, and when the New York Times article came out, it was it turned out to be a form of disclosure in that I put two and two together about Bigelow being funded by the government by reading that article. And that was kind of a sea change in my understanding of what's been going on. And yes, it has been a material shift in direction in the information that we're hearing about in the public and that the Congress is pressing to get more of. But like you said, Joe, it remains to be seen, you know, how all this is going to turn out. And like you said, 1,000 things can go wrong. You know, some of these Congress people may not get reelected.
Oh my God, yes.
You know, a different party comes into power and the committee compositions change. You know, the DOD stonewalls, and you know, maybe in a few years it's past history. I hope not. I want
I'm right there with you
as much as anybody, believe me.
Yeah, I try to be positive, and people, I realize that people have been let down over and over again. So I am prepared for that, but at least we're talking about it. The potential is there, and next year should be really interesting. And I really would love to hear, like I said, what Melon and Lou think about what we're talking about, how they're going to get through that wall of denial if they just push back and say we're not giving you the information. But I appreciate you coming on, Tom.
Thank you,
I'm
Joe.
going to do like 10 more minutes of questions, and we'll talk again soon. Next time you're in Vegas, hit me up. This time I will see you.
Okay, Joe. Thanks for
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks. That was good. I mean, it's been great tonight. People calling in. Anybody else have any questions? I'm going to do like the top of the hour for Linda Moulton Howe. She will publicly push out info that is largely unvettable, but that doesn't mean some of it isn't correct. Yeah, even if outlandish, I am open to outlandish. I laugh if some of the outlandish stuff is true. I think I heard a Doty tell a story where he said these human-looking ETs beamed into a room and started dismembering everybody. I'm like, if that happened, I don't think people would react to that well, but it's so outlandish. So you keep it on the side. You're like, all right, interesting, ridiculous, but no proof, no evidence. Let's see, any other questions? Yeah, I respect Linda for her work. I don't know if she's lost all objectivity, but I don't usually pay attention to her anymore. I used to watch her live streams, but I don't anymore. The government will never come clean. Well, I don't know about the government. I think certain people will never come clean who are still in control. They'll have to die off. Yeah, it's going to be, like I said, interesting next year to see how this plays out. Thanks, Lord Ludicrous. It was nice having people call in, and otherwise just me talking for forever. I'm just going to go down this list if I can. There we go. Linda lays her head down at night, truly believing tomorrow will be the day they save us. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Linda believes that they're going to save us because she has a lot of negativity. If you read her books, there's some scary stuff in her books. So she has parts of her books dealing with Carla Turner, and Carla Turner, people need to check out her books. They're all online for free. There's videos of her. She was very skeptical of what was going on. Didn't think that, she's like, the hybrid program may be a cover for something else. You can't believe these beings are always lying, which Jim Semivan says too. They lie, they cajole. I mean, but they're just out of reach. It's just out of reach. Whatever this is, it's kind of like John Keel, which I know he's read Keel, Semivan has, because he refers to him. Let's see. If Linda would have an open mind towards, I don't want to turn this to a bashing Linda, had an open mind towards questioning and reporting, it would help the knowledge of the subject growth. She wants things to be a certain way rather than they really are. I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I'm at that point, Mark. Linda's up there. I don't pay attention to her. I don't ignore her, but I don't watch her live streams. Carla Turner. Carla Turner. Give me a second. I got to get a drink. Carla Turner was one of my favorite. And I blew her off for the longest time because she was too out there for me. At least I thought so at the time. And then I started reading some of her stuff a couple of years ago. I'm like, and listening to her interviews, I'm like, man, this is really good stuff. Why have I not listened to this before? Maybe I had read John Keel at that point, so I was more open to it. And, yeah, her books, Into the Fringe. She died of cancer, Gabby. She had a very aggressive type of cancer, and everybody's like, oh, she was murdered. I'm like, I don't know that, but she had like some other people connected to UFOs, like Stephen Schiff, the congressman in New Mexico who went looking into Roswell, died of an aggressive cancer. Greer's assistant died of an aggressive cancer, but I don't know. There's no evidence of that, but yeah, she died of cancer. Her lectures are on YouTube. They're really good. People need to check them out. She was on Art Bell. She was one of the most well-spoken people when it comes to abductions, did a lot of research with people, had some MyLab type of witnesses, had a conversation with one of her witnesses where she's like, I don't know where these beings come from. And then a voice popped in on the phone. She heard like a zip and said, we know exactly where they're from. And there are a lot of them. And then the thing ended zipped. And her witness were like, what the hell was that? So if that's true, there might be a group, and we've spoken about this before, it might be a group that knows a hell of a lot more than we do. And when that comes out, people are going to be like, oh my God, some of the most outlandish stories are true, but I don't know that. If UAP-related NDAs are to be reported, that presumably also means that someone with an NDA can come forward and discuss their work without fear and say, I have an NDA, here's a copy. Yeah, it opens up the door to so many people to come forward. Let's hope this gets passed and the Senate comes up with just as language that's just as strong. Obviously, we all want to see the faces of these people who worked in these programs on live television in Congress. I would think it would be the most highly rated program. Meanwhile, people probably wouldn't even care. They'd say, oh, I don't care. Who are these people? Aliens, craft. I would hope that people would watch and at least try to figure out if these people come across as credible. Jay, bro, I don't know him. Yeah, anybody who says they think the government's preparing to disclose, I usually tune out because I don't think the government is doing anything. There may be a small group of people advising Lou on what to talk about because it seems like he progresses as time goes on. I don't even know if that's true. Eric Davis says there is no organized disclosure. It's the phenomenon that pushes disclosure with certain sightings. And I know people think 2019 the events are drones. Let's just, for this argument, say they weren't drones or something else. It doesn't have to be 2019. There could be an event, like say if there was the Phoenix Lights, if we had another event like that, it would force the government to speak up. That's what he means when the phenomenon forces disclosure. So events like that. But I'm not even sure that's, you hear that events thank you very much, Edward Roman. Thoughts on Close Encounters by Jason Reza Giorgiani. I don't know. And I might have a book by him, but you need to explain it. Use the link so you can come on and tell me about it. Has her family ever talked about their experiences? And thank you, Edward, for that. For the, I forget what it's called because I haven't done YouTube in so long. Super chat. Thank you. But if you could explain Jason Reza Giorgiani more, maybe it'll ring a bell because I don't know offhand. Has Carla Turner's family ever talked about their experiences outside of what is known in the books? I have not heard of anything. I don't even know James, who that is. All I know is I've watched a lot of her interviews, and I could watch her interviews over, and I've watched them repeatedly. She was just so knowledgeable, and I would make jokes of like, yeah, she would have been my third wife. I just love the way she would speak about things. Because kind of like Jim Semivan, she would speak like, I'm thinking of something, and then she starts going and talking about it. Semivan talks about so many aspects of the phenomena that we all wonder about. And I know people, think he's a CIA former spy, and I never sensed anything anything nefarious or anything secretive, and I'm sure certain things he can't talk about, but from him, he answered so many questions when he was on with Stuart Davis. If you've never checked out those interviews, and I transcribed them, I just need to finish the transcriptions. I have so many transcriptions that I have basically done. They just have to be tidied up and done. Tomorrow I'll try to get at least one out. Somebody said the other day on another show that drones are the new swamp gas. It is so true. I couldn't laugh. Well, drones are an issue. Drones are, and I've seen drones that do amazing things. So, it'll probably be mixed in with some UFO sightings. I don't know what's going on, like with nuclear bases, nuclear power plants, when they're seeing drones or they're labeled drones, but they can't do anything about it. We haven't seen any video from those cases. So I don't know what to think of that. I know Lou has insinuated that it's not drones, but don't know. Do you think this new amendment will allow Davis to speak to Congress without reprisal from Aerospace Corporation, or do you think it's not an issue? No. If Congress wants to speak to Eric Davis, Aerospace will not get in the way. Aerospace just doesn't want him to do media, but just because in the New York Times article they were mentioned, they weren't happy, so that's why that happened. But if Eric Davis didn't work in any of these programs, and I have no knowledge that he did, I'd rather hear from the people in the programs. If Eric Davis is giving them information on where to look for the programs, that's great, but you don't really need to hear that in a hearing. But there is stuff, in my opinion, that Eric Davis, I don't know if he has firsthand information or he learned it from other people. If it's not firsthand information, then you want to get the people he spoke to, not him. But he may have firsthand information. I don't know. I don't know every detail of what he's learned. I would love to think he worked or is working in the crash retrieval program, but I have no information on that. As far as I know, he's working on NASA-related stuff at Aerospace. And if he is working in any other program, he's not going to be able to tell us. Giorgiani has become a Joseph Farrell on steroids. Joseph Farrell, while I may not agree with a lot of his takes, I actually liked Joseph Farrell. Interesting to listen to, but I really haven't spent too much time on him. Giorgiani is an expert on ancient Persian culture and Mithraic philosophy. He is positively brilliant. Oh, so you're saying positive. I thought you were saying that disparagingly with Farrell, because a lot of people don't like Farrell. So I will have to check that out and add it to my list of books that I have not read that are piling up. He's also an intense proponent of Aryanism, though he would reject Hitler. Okay. I know when I get into somebody who's interesting, turns out they've got negative baggage and I get slammed for it, which I didn't even know they had negative baggage before I started reading their stuff. I remember the quote by Eric Davis. I interpreted it as people can't do nothing but expect for clearer sightings. I don't think he was implying that the phenomena itself had intentions of its own. I don't think it was intentions. I just, whatever happens, that's what drives it. And it drives us. And it's not some organized government program that's planning this out in the long term. And he says it's just the government is too, it's a monolith. It's just the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So that was his opinion, that it's not government driven. Lou said he would walk away before putting national security at risk or something close to that. So he would really be 100% open in a public hearing, theoretical. Would he? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Lou would be 100% open. 100% no. Like I said, they're not going to talk about classified information in an open hearing. The most we can expect in an open hearing is sensitive information that's not classified, or they can take classified information and lower the classification so we can hear about it, because there's overclassification on a lot of the UFO stuff that does not need to be classified. Eric will lose all future grants. Had to be a fool to talk. Yeah, if Eric is called before Congress, though, he can talk. Talking about Wilson Davis without any protection would be a mistake, although I don't think he would be in legal trouble. You never know, but I mean, he didn't have a clearance when he met with Admiral Wilson in 2002, so I don't think he was on the hook to even be quiet. He just made an agreement with Wilson that he wouldn't go public with it. Giorgiani thinks that we are all moving towards a transhumanist dystopia unless strong-willed people act. He is steeped in Hegelianism. I don't know what that last thing is. You have to explain that. But I'm not sure if I'm going to. Yeah, send me a link, Edward. I appreciate that because I really don't know. Joseph Farrell has lost his way badly. I haven't listened to him in a long time. The person I listened to yesterday was Gerald Salente. Oh my God, grow up. Everybody grow up. I don't know if you guys have ever heard him, but he has gotten very loud in his older age. Farrell now spouts truly dangerous nonsense daily. Very sad to watch it. Yeah, I haven't watched him in a while. I used to like some of what he said, and I have one of his books. When I worked on Pawn Stars, one of the fans of Rick, the main guy, had a Joseph Farrell book, and I said, "Can I borrow this, Rick?" He's like, "Yeah, make sure you bring it back." I didn't bring it back. I don't think Rick misses it though. Lou can be released from his NDA and then openly discuss matters in the way he knows how, which will open the doors of many congressional minds. Yes, he'll talk about a lot more. He's not going to talk about stuff that's classified, obviously, but there's a lot more he can talk about. I think people, there's things he will tell people privately. He can't say publicly, but it's not obviously not classified. So that kind of stuff can come out. Johnny has done a number of thinking aloud videos with Jeffrey Mitchell. I wonder if I know this guy. It's an older guy. There are a lot of nasty allegations about him. I'll have to look that up because I might have seen it. I did not know Mishlov and Giordani had a bad falling out. Mishlov backed away. Do I have a sense of Eric's ethics? How important is disclosure versus career prospects, for example? Good question. I think Eric, back in 2000, if you read the alien autopsy notes, everybody should read that, and everybody should listen to the interview, the video that Richard Dolan did, and his article on his interview with Kit Green, which is so good. Talks about Kit Green being allegedly shown videos or pictures of alien autopsy years before the alien autopsy. And Eric Davis in those notes talks about, why is all of this being kept from the public? What's the benefit of keeping all of this information from the public? So he wants disclosure. Also, though, he's worked in the world of the defense, so national security is a big issue for him, but I think he would love to get as much information out as possible, as long as we're not giving our adversaries any sort of advantage. I think it can be done, especially if we have a crash retrieval program. Everybody deserves to know that. And bodies, I don't think that gives away anything. If we have that stuff, I don't think it hurts us adversarial with our adversaries. So let's see, what's this? I don't know what that is. So I'm taking that off. All right. How do I get rid of this person? Blocked. Sorry. Are these NDAs preventing people from talking to Congress behind closed doors today? I don't think so. In a classified setting, they are not. But regular folks who are involved in on the books programs, but on the off the books programs, I don't think they feel comfortable. I mean, it's so secretive. I mean, I don't think these folks would feel comfortable talking to Congress unless specific immunity language is in there. Obviously, you'd have to talk to them yourselves. I'm not sure how that works with an unacknowledged, waived unacknowledged special access program. Do you think the main benefit here will be getting people to come forward that Congress doesn't already know of? Yes. Like I said, in the Wilson Davis notes, it says the bigot list was 400 to 800 people. If that's true, then there's so many people that can come forward. We need a line of witnesses to come forward to really make a difference. All right. Mark is trying to compete with my blender noises. I'm glad I inspired you. Giorgiani seems to believe the academic elite should run the world because the rest of us are too stupid. That kind of turned me off to his material. It's similar to the people who supposedly are in control of these special access programs and this, alleged crash retrieval stuff, that they don't think that we deserve the information or we can handle it because we're too stupid watching reality shows, which, let's face it, our species dedicates a lot of time to crap. I don't know if that will ever change. It's not hopeless, but it's not encouraging. Close Encounters is great. You may recognize some of the theories in the book is regarding Collins Elite, The Origins of the ET, a fun read. I'll have to check it out. There's another I want to read Nick Redfern's Collins Elite book. I have not, but I have it. Kapara Captain, thanks. I appreciate that. I'm glad I did this tonight. It's been a little bit. All right, I think I've had enough Georgiani for the night. I need to see the link and I'll read it. I'll try to. Like I said, I still have so many different things to read. It even goes over the abduction in New York City. Oh, that's Bud Hopkins' book Witnessed, which is a great read. Don't know if I believe all of that story because it's so weird with the police involved and the witnesses. So also today I got a job. I'm working on the Usher show. Not a big fan of Usher, but I've done a show before. It's at the MGM, so I'm going to be gone for a while. Some of the days are full time, but I need to work. It's been a while. Actually, I was thinking I need some work, and then it popped up. So good timing. Thanks, Pix. It was good. Have a good night, everybody. I think I'm going to go. Last one, if it even goes over some missing time, people missing in national parks. Yeah, I'm really curious about the missing 911, missing 411. I forget his name. What's his name? Who does all of that work? Thanks so much, Teresa. Thank you. I'm glad people chimed in for the first time. Hopefully we get more of it. It wasn't like a Spaces, but it could be like a Spaces if more people came on. I could put as much people in the waiting room. I'm not sure. I could put a lot of people in the waiting room. Yeah, thanks. You'll get to watch it later, Jonathan. It was a little slow in the beginning trying to make my way through that language. But basically, to recap, these people will be protected if they come forward related to UFO information. And if the program of a UFO program is not reported to Congress, then all bets are off. Those programs are not protected. You can't use the national security excuse if a program hasn't been reported to Congress. So those two things, immunity, and we can go after those programs in theory, but we need the Senate language too. And we got a long ways to go on all of this. It's one step. What do you think of the idea that the UFO other intelligence doesn't like government, but like people like Chris Bledsoe? I believe Chris Bledsoe has had real experiences, but I think he has these interpretations of what it is, and I don't buy into that. I just don't know. I don't know. He's more like it's angelic. So whether or not the phenomena likes civilians over government, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Government people have had some positive experiences too. I think it's across the board. All different folks have different experiences, whether or not they're in a government. You can make the argument, though, the folks in the government and Skinwalker were having the negative experiences, but not everybody. It was like the one guy on the West Coast, his daughter had hitchhiker experiences where she took stuff home to her house in Connecticut from Oregon. I don't think she was part of the government. Her father was, so they get to attack somebody because guilt by association. Attack is a strong word. Have a good night, Mark. Why does Joe's house look like it was decorated in 1997? Because it was decorated in 1997. I have it frozen in time. Yep. Good night. David Paulides. That is the one who does Missing 411. I liked his documentaries. Really weird stuff. So everybody have a good night. Amy. Has Bud Hopkins addressed the creepy send your underpants stuff? No, I don't think Bud Hopkins has been asked about David Jacobs. And the way I understood it is Emma Woods was throwing out evidence, and she claims that she believed that the phenomenon was somehow influencing her to throwing out evidence. So David Jacobs gave her a suggestion, kind of like a semi-hypnotic suggestion, to not throw your underwear out just after you have an experience, mail them to me. I got a lot of flack because I was, quote unquote, not arguing with Emma Woods on Twitter, but I was kind of pushing her for some answers, and people got mad at me. Somebody called me a sexual assault apologist, and I wrote to Emma privately, and I still write to her occasionally, and I will interview her. I just need to read her book. So we're good. I told her I apologize for coming on too strong, but that wasn't my intent. I was trying to get the hell to the bottom of the story of what happened with David Jacobs, because I have other people I've spoke to who support Jacobs 100%. I didn't put any of that out. I just decided to leave it alone. Emma Woods, I've started reading her book about her experiences. It's good. It's a good start. I just need to take the time to read it. Thanks, Histories, Mysteries, and last one, I gotta go. Gallagher is my new hero. Yeah, I made a joke last month or 2 months ago that I was turning Republican just because of Gallagher. I'm obviously kidding because I'm very far left, but on a lot of stuff. It's a good face for this movement. I agree. He's young, decent looking. Burchett is a great guy, but I don't know about him being the face of the community. I agree on that too. No offense. I love the guy. He's great, but I agree. Gallagher is much better. Gillibrand is good. Gallagher, Rubio, Gillibrand, all of them. So, no, I have not listened to I do want the 3-part Semi-Van Lavenda podcast. I love Peter Lavenda. And no, I have not seen Hellier. And yeah, I don't know what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch. I know a lot of people think it's coming from the folks, and some people think the fear is induced so they can feed off of the fear, whatever that is. There's some people think that it's being based on whatever you put out, it puts back. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, but there are horses who have been injured, really. Dogs that have been incinerated. That doesn't seem positive to me. And there were no humans involved. So have you seen Stranger Things? Not the new one. I have not seen the new one. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, folks. And thank you to the people who came in and spoke, because without that, it's a little boring, just me talking. And also thank you for the super chat, Edward, I think. I appreciate that. And 11 and Gabby, everybody have a good night. I will talk to you soon. It may be a while because this job I have coming up has like a whole bunch of nights in a row, and they're full days, I think. So anyway, have a good night.